Welcome guys to the second part of building the incredible Jurassic Park Vistor Center. In this episode we finish the entire exterior of the building and top it off with that incredible thatched roof we see in the films themselves. So let's begin. Now what we open with here is exactly what we left off. We have that huge epic spherical templated building surrounded by the lush overgrown jungle and those water features and gardens we built in the previous episode. But what we start working on here is that iconic fossilized door. This door is the door that leads into that main central room of the visitor center itself, which houses that epic T-Rex skeleton that we see right at the end of the film. So here I had to again use some of my own kind of creative interpretation, you could say, because like I said, this big dried clay section I'm building here in the film is actually kind of like some fossilized rock, and obviously because the details of Minecraft I had to leave out, I could not build that in the episode, but I feel this dry clay works incredibly well in its stead. Now this doorway again is something I didn't really notice in the films. Whenever you're watching it and you're focusing on the characters, I feel it's incredibly interesting to see all these extra details that went into creating these epic films, and this doorway is incredibly unique in itself in the way you can see here. It goes much higher than the roof itself. It extends out of the wall and looks almost like a huge totem pole with covered in dinosaur fossils. So now I add into the section just some nice kind of pyramid shaped arcs that lead its way up and embedded them into the rock to give that extra detail that's added with shadows, because shadows make a huge difference to detail within these Minecraft shaders. So what you saw there was I've obviously built this template beforehand, and now as I'm building it I'm kind of molding the template. I change it a little bit here and there, and you saw that there with the windows. I've expanded the windows a little bit to basically make them look bigger and that little bit more impressive. So I'm using the exact same building materials you saw earlier, using these stone here to highlight the top of the window, and then using these upside down stairs to kind of extrude it out and add that extra level of detail, and replacing that stone. I feel that stone, even though I felt it looked good, it didn't look quite as good as using those stone bricks. Now here we move to the wall, and there's the template, and I simply fill that wall in and cover it in extra foliage because I feel that looks incredibly impressive, having all that foliage growing all the way around the circular building itself. So there wasn't much to the design processes there, and you can see the way I built it right here. And now you can obviously see we're moving on to the roof. Now the roof is one of those iconic bits. It's when those jeeps roll up to the entrance of this visitor center. That is one of the first things I noticed as a viewer, was that incredible brownie orange cone thatched roof. So that is what we now begin working on. I was going to dedicate this to its own episode, but in fact, as this is the last episode of the exterior of the visitor center, I felt let's go out with a bang and get it all done with in one nice episode. So as you can see here, I'm using those wooden stairs and lining them perfectly with that spherical template I've lined out inside the visitor center itself, and using quite standard Minecraft techniques, using one block of wood there to use as a basis, and then building off this stone kind of stairway off it, as this kind of lets me apply this gradual steady incline to these cones. Now we move on to the next level. What's interesting about this is it's just not one big thatched cone roof. To let light in, it has dividers all the way up, so there's one at the bottom, one in the middle, and then one near at the top, and these dividers are kind of like windows, so you can see me working on them here to this nice light grey colour. So I'm applying lots of different effects here, trying to again work on that smoothness. This is a smooth incline, so I'm trying to use all these different materials to see how I can apply that style, and I feel using these stone stairs here on top of these double stone slabs works incredibly well, and it's a very nice little effect. So then we repeat it all the way around and then begin that process again, start building up that cone shape using the stone, and then to get rid of that overlap there, I obviously remove it here just to add that extra bit of refinement and detail. So then it extends up another level again, and then we add in the next level again. That's the third divide. Now what I've done here is I've built it in two cone, in like a half a cone, because with World Edit that I use to obviously speed up these builds, I can then use the copy and paste tool to help me just really speed up this process. So that's why in a lot of these builds you see me build something like half of something, then the other half magically appears because World Edit speeds up the entire process. Now you can see the cone has come to that pinpoint right at the top, and now we move on to the second roof. Now what's interesting about when I watch these films, and now I have to pause them and analyze the design itself, I never noticed the second and third roof to the side of that main cone shape. So this is what we're working on now, and I'm not actually sure what the function of these smaller cone shapes are, but they add that extra bit of detail and something that I obviously have to add into my own design. So they're built in a very similar respect to the main cone, but again, they do swap around some features, one of which, the primary one, is this big stone wall. The way the pillars are at the bottom, then this stone wall kind of expands outwards, comes up to the roof, which you can see me now preparing to put on with these struts, sticking inwards, and then the roof will eventually like overlap these struts ever so slightly, and this is obviously a design process the production designers on Jurassic Park thought looked incredibly cool, and I kind of agree. You see this kind of roof now overlapping those stone pillars there, and I feel this little extra roof looks incredibly good. But then again, with the magic of World Edit, I add the third one onto that size to add that identical nature, and now finally we come back to that decorative kind of grassy area as talked about earlier, and here, because of the building of the rest of the park, I was able to look back at the film and see how it lined up with the actual design itself. And you can see me here, I've expanded that garden area a little bit more, made it a little bit bigger to make it more accurate to what we see in the film itself. And this actually brings us to the end of this incredible build. This is by no means the end of Jurassic Park. I'm going to continue building some very exciting new episodes that are relevant to both Jurassic Park and the recently released Jurassic World. So guys, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.